flabbergasted. That's the Nothing Personal Word of the Day. It's Friday, August 29th, 2025. Today's episode is brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Micah Parsons has been traded by the Dallas Cowboys to the Green Bay Packers, but you knew that. I'm not breaking that news. That news got broken by Matthew Coca in a text to me, and my immediate reaction, looking for the adjective flabbergasted. So that's the word of the day. If you guess our word of the day and you're on the live chat, even though you may not be, but if you get on it, 7 a.m. Eastern, Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, guess that word of the day, be the first to guess it. You may get some merch. So many angles. Let me start with what I thought of immediately. When I got the word that Micah Parsons had been traded, I thought there'd be a two-part press conference. One, the announcement of the trade, because I knew as soon as Micah Parsons was traded that Jerry Jones would have to do a press conference. Two, I thought Jerry Jones at the press conference was going to announce his stepping back as general manager of the Cowboys. I thought what he was going to say is that he had come to the conclusion that it was in the best interest of the Cowboys for him no longer to be GM and to solely focus on being owner. I must have been completely out of my mind. Because if you know Jerry, like I know Jerry, like we know Jerry, I had it right the whole time. He's never going to stop being GM. And the Cowboys are never going to win with him as GM. And everyone is so despondent beyond repair, at least outside of Wisconsin. Well, Green Bay is a loved team, beloved team everywhere. Let me say it a better way, 4869. Everyone other than Green Bay Packer fans around this world, despondent beyond repair that Jerry Jones made what people perceive to be the most lopsided trade maybe ever, invoking the likes of Herschel Walker, Luka Doncic. Oh, Dallas. Funny. How you feeling, Dallas? If you're 26 years old and you're a superstar, see ya. You're all despondent that the trade happened. Why is that? What about what Jerry Jones did was wrong? Before we get to how Jerry Jones tried to explain it to you, explain to me, did he not get enough for Micah Parsons? Micah Parsons is an expiring player. I just want to put it in baseball terms. He's a player who's got one season left until free agency. So he didn't get enough. 2 first-rounders, which in football are the most valuable commodity, I could argue, plus Kenny Clark, a Pro Bowl defensive, signed to half the money with maybe a little more than half the production, though he had a down year last year. So is it the trade that wasn't equal? Because when you trade a superstar, you can never get the same value back? I'm sensitive to these things, Coca. I'm sensitive because I had to trade a superstar too in my time. And it's very hard to get equal quote-unquote value back when in fact you may be doing the right thing for your organization. The question is, how do you talk to people? Do you tell the fans what they want to hear? Do you tell them how it really worked? If you watch Jerry Jones over the course of his 45-minute press conference explaining and discussing the trade, there were lucid moments where it rang very familiar and true to me as a former team president. And there were other moments when I said, wow, I can't believe his PR people, his son Steven was sitting to his right, who could barely get a word in edgewise. I can't believe there wasn't a guardrail put up to stop him from talking. Just listen to what Jerry Jones said on trading Micah Parsons.
Well, with that being too broad. Obviously, we did think it was in the best interest of our organization, not only the future, but right now, this season as well. We've gained a Pro Bowl player. We've gained a Pro Bowl player in an area that we had big concerns in on the inside of our defense.
Tell me what your thoughts are of that statement. Did it remind you of Craig Breslow, the Red Sox, after trading Devers? We're going to be better now and in the future. What is the argument? That Micah Parsons is worth $47 million a year that he got from Green Bay? Or is the argument that he's not worth $47 million a year, although he's 26 years old and maybe the best defender, the best edge rusher? I guess you could argue Myles Garrett, but whatever. Top 2, top 3, tier 1. Is the argument that the Cowboys can't be better without him? I'd like to draw your attention to how the Cowboys were going to be with him. There's not one person outside of the Jones family household who thought the Cowboys were going to be Super Bowl contenders this year. Not one. They may have the highest paid quarterback. That's according to... Who said that? They may have... That was Jerry Jones, obviously. He wanted to remind us. Dak Prescott, we paid him. CeeDee Lamb, we paid him. Wanted to let you know that he'll pay. But think about this. If you know that you're not good enough to win it all, what is the benefit of putting such a high percentage of your cap on one player when you have not been able to build around that player when he wasn't getting paid $47 million a year? When you were not good enough to win the big playoff game? Was it McCarthy? When you weren't good enough to make the playoffs last year, was it McCarthy? Maybe Schottenheimer's better. The futures market, the books don't say it. So the hate to Jerry Jones and the hate to the Cowboys over the trade, I just want it to be rational. I just want you to have a reason to say what you're saying that is based in reality, that's based in business, that's based in football. The Green Bay Packers traded 2 first-rounders and signed a guy to the largest ever contract for a non-quarterback. They traded 2 first-rounders and they took on, let's say, $25 million in cap because they did get rid of Clark. And what people are saying is Green Bay is now a Super Bowl contender. Which means that the other Green Bay players, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, maybe, defense of the Packers, better than the defense of the Cowboys. You bring a good player, a great player out of a good team. You put him on a great team. That great team can become greater. These are philosophies we think about as an executive. We can't make a bad team great. We can make a good team great by getting better. The Packers, did they get better incrementally enough? The difference between, because let's face it, this season, the difference is the difference between Clark and Parsons. That's it. Next season, they can't be better. When you've got $47 million versus the cap and you've traded away first-round draft choice, tell me how that works. I guess you don't have Aaron Rodgers complaining that you didn't draft an offensive player, you didn't draft a wide receiver. I guess maybe the Packers say, what's the difference? And I love the Packers. I don't love the Cowboys. I'm trying to give you a point of view on this trade that no one anywhere is giving, and I can't figure out why. For the life of me, were I to be an NFL insider and brought on the network to talk about this trade only, I would say to myself, and to the audience, wait a minute, I'm doing that right now. When Jerry Jones tells you that he had a bid that hit his ask, and he had a specific ask, that rang true to me. When we have to trade a player, we still have an ask. If that ask is not going to be hit, we get to decide whether we're going to trade that player, except when you have to trade the player. I had to trade Miguel Cabrera, period. Jerry Jones didn't have to trade Micah Parsons. That was not part of the game. It wasn't a financial reason this season or next season we must trade him. He's a signed player for a year. Is it possible Jerry Jones said to Micah Parsons right at the end, by the way, you want to stay, play on your 5th year, see what happens, and then move on? Or we'll sign you later. Of course that's possible. Why wouldn't you say that to a free agent to be who you can't come to agreement with? You say, hey, play out your free agency. You have 1 more year with us. Let's have a kick-ass season, and then we'll see what happens. Everything about this trade made sense from the Cowboys' standpoint. But then Jerry Jones kept talking. Listen to what he said later in the press conference that was total horse hockey.
But I will say this, that it was important that we did get, if we could get it, the kind of interest that we got in making a trade for Mike. He was an asset that we got 4 great years out of. But when you are talking about making a contract the kind that he got and for the future, that's quite a commitment. And none of that counts about what he did those first 4 years. It all goes against what he can do for you in the future, the length of that contract and maybe more. Well, then you've got to really weigh how many players. And I'm just going to give you this. Not only do we immediately get a player, but those draft picks could get us, I'm talking top Pro Bowl type players, could. Not necessarily, you're going to be quick to say, you won't necessarily get those players. You got to draft them or acquire them. But they could get us as few as 3 or as many as 5 outstanding players.
Jerry, you had it. You had the messaging perfectly, and then you screwed the whole thing up. Because you got done telling us earlier that you had already offered him the most money, the most guarantee, and the most money of any non-quarterback ever. You already had made the decision that you had wanted to sign him. You had a deal cut with him. Whether it was with his agent or not, we can debate. Whether or not Micah Parsons agreed to it, we can debate. But you can't tell me now, after you trade him, that, hey, how would we ever want to sign him when we can spread that cap money around? We can bring in first rounders. We can get a defensive tackle, Kenny Clark. Stop it, Jerry. This is when you need the GM to say to the owner, shh, we cannot say that. We're going to get nailed. What changed? That Jerry Jones wanted to allocate that money to the cap. He wanted to have Micah Parsons long-term. He valued him as the highest paid player in the game, non-quarterback. And all of a sudden that changes. Did it only change because Green Bay offered 2 first-rounders and Kenny Clark? Or did it change because Jerry was acting like an owner and was angry and hurt and disappointed that Micah didn't sign the deal that he thought was agreed to? Was this a punitive measure and he just didn't want to say it? Well, here's what you do. When you make a player transaction and there's a reason behind it that you don't want to discuss, here's what you do. You don't discuss it, but you don't do the bait and switch to another story. Jerry Jones spent the other part of this press conference telling you, of course I lie to the media. You asked me whether Micah was on the trade block, and I said, no, we're not trading him. And he said, of course I wanted to say that because I didn't want teams to know. That's also horse hockey. I've done that. Say to the media, oh, no, this player's not going to be signed or this player's not going to be traded, except I would say it with everybody could be traded. I went the other way. Why would I say what Jerry Jones says? Why would I try to tell you that I would say what Jerry Jones says? You don't need to say what he said. You can just say, yeah, is Micah Parsons possibly going to be traded? Everyone could be traded. Some players are less likely than others. That was the line I used. That line makes sense to me. The problem with saying absolutes as an owner or a GM is you look like a fool when it doesn't happen because people have memories. Although the analysts for this trade, No one's got memories. No one's saying a word other than, oh my God, Jerry Jones, the incompetent. I don't know, Coca. What is what's the over under here? What's the win-loss total on the Cowboys? Can you look at that from our friends at DraftKings? And if any way to find out what it was to open and what it is now? Because what is it? A half a game? A half a game? The last thing I'll say about Micah Parsons and his post, his statement when he talked about sort of how things went, I guess I would ask you this. When yesterday we told you that Micah Parsons had to go get a second opinion on his back, what's your view on that today? Is he a Green Bay Packer with a $188 million 4-year contract with $120 million of it guaranteed at signing? I have a quick question. Micah, are you going to get your back checked? Because did Green Bay ask about your back? Do you need to pass a physical prior to getting $120 million? How's your back feeling today? You can mark my words that Micah Parsons will not be going to get his back checked by another doctor. What were they at? The Cowboys are down to, they were at what? They're down a game. 7.5. This just makes my point, actually. The Cowboys over-under was 7.5 games. There are not 10 games in a season. There's 17. The market said that they were going to go 7-10 or 8-9. Guess what? No playoffs for you. Sorry. Now they're going to go 6-11 or 7-10. Wow. Wouldn't it be amazing if we thought Jerry Jones as an owner had a better GM? Because if he had a better GM who drafted better, you'd have an opportunity to actually make your team better. Maybe now and certainly in the future. But until Jerry Jones fires himself, which after last night's press conference, I don't know, was that the owner talking to the GM? Because if that's the GM giving that press conference the way he gave it, I am firing that GM. If that's the owner giving the press conference the way he gave it, I'm never letting the owner talk to the media ever again. Not one more time. Ever. Fire me if you want, but I will not be a part of you talking to the media while Stephen Jones sips his water at 62 saying, Jesus, I'm Prince Charles, for crying out loud. I don't know if anyone gets that reference. It was so good that just popped in my head. It's so good. Prince Charles, old, waiting for his mother to die to finally become king, and then he's so old. Stephen Jones is 61. He's looking over at the GM and owner and saying, holy Christmas. I got to wait to see to end this, Coca. And remember, I'm a Wisconsin guy. I'm a Packer guy. Wait to see is when we tell you something's going to happen. If it does, fine. If it doesn't, fine. Go to our document at davidsamsonpodcast.com. The Packers do not make it to the NFC Championship game. That's an official wait to see. Coca, you've got those stats up. Will you tell me about the Packers? Would it not make sense? Did their win total go up one? Because if the Cowboys went down one, would the Packers then go up one definitionally, or is it just totally separate? Let me know. That's not right. Okay, thank you, Coca. Now, did you say that without looking? And what are the Packers? What is it? It never moved. The Packers over-under win total is 9.5. That means the question is, will they go 10-7 or 9-8? It didn't move after the acquisition of Micah Parsons. $47 million. Mark Murphy, where are you, buddy? He was the team president. Do you remember when Sam Kennedy, the president of the Red Sox, and Craig Breslow, the president of baseball operations or the chief baseball officer, when they gave a press conference after they traded Rafael Devers, they were both on Zoom as opposed to the Jones father-son team. They were at a table. But it was a press conference nonetheless, though no one was live, but there were plenty of questions. Do you remember the show we did after that? and the number of times that Breslow and Kennedy said the word alignment. We need alignment. There wasn't alignment. It's very important to have alignment. Do you remember that? Well, my brain brought me to that moment because the whole press conference reminded me of the post-Devers trade press conference. But also, Jerry Jones and his son, they kept talking about, hey, we got to stop the run. We got to stop the run. Okay. That got you from 7.5 to 6.5. Way to stop the run. Do you know how much we like gloating as executives? We love it. We have egos. When you're the president of a team or the owner of a team or the GM of a team, man, you have an ego. And I guess my ego over under from being president to not being president, or from being not president to being president, I would say my ego over under went from 9.5 to 10.5. So it wasn't a huge jump, but it's a jump nonetheless. But one of the things that really feeds it, and I'm talking like when you can eat chuckles at a movie theater, just something that feels so right, like a handful of good and plenty with some black jelly beans as a chaser. When you make a trade and what happens is what you said would happen. The Boston Red Sox right now, they are scooping up the good and plenty. They're eating the soup crackers. They are swimming in a sea of chowder because maybe Craig Breslow knows exactly what he was doing the whole time by getting rid of Devers. And maybe I was just right by telling you it's addition by subtraction. The Red Sox completed their sweep of the Orioles. They are 15 games over 500, ladies and gentlemen. And do you know when the last time the Boston Red Sox were 15 games over 500? I'd like you to fashion a guess. And if you don't have a 2 and a 1 in it, then you're not going to get it right. 2021. That was the last time. The Red Sox, what aren't they doing right? Every other day, it seems like they're bringing up young players. They've got young players. They complement those young players with veterans. They sign a guy who I assumed was finished, and I mean finished in more ways than one. Aroldis Chapman, the guy won't give up a hit. Forget a run. He won't give up a hit. 37-year-old is pulling like a Clemens, and I just hope to God it's needleless, which I assume it is, because he hasn't been caught yet. But my God, and I don't say yet, I'm saying he's fine. But the guy, he's 37. He's got a 1.04 earned run average. Something's going on with Chapman that he's throwing $102 at 37. No hits allowed in his last 14 appearances. Closing games for a team that's 38-24 since they got rid of who was supposed to be their best and certainly highest paid player. Tell me where the Red Sox went wrong in that trade. Because fans didn't like it? Because media members didn't like it? I must say, Coca, that one of the most frustrating parts of the job is when you believe that you know something that other people don't know, but they act as though they've got the same amount of information or the same amount of acumen. That is often fed by ego, but likely buttressed by talent and buttressed by reality. Executives know more. That's why they're executives. You can talk about nepotism. That's fine. You can talk about the fact that you play fantasy football. That's fine. The reality is that the people who are in the job, whether they get fired or not, to get the job in the first place, you got to know what you're doing on the baseball side or the football side. And it's a different sort of skill level. I can tell you that Craig Breslow can't communicate with people. I can tell you that he's too analytically focused. I can tell you that him, as smart as he is from Yale, him running an operation like that as a CEO, which is what you are of the baseball department, is not a smart move as a first job. I can tell you all those things. But the reality is that what I also will tell you is that the ability for players to evaluate other players when it's not about a player just backing up his teammate to try to get paid more by the team, where it's you against the man and that clubhouse gels against the front office. But when you talk to a player about evaluating other players who they don't have an emotional attachment to, they see things, they feel things that other people don't feel. The reason why you try to have players around your front office, but not necessarily running your front office, is that the business side they may not have, but the evaluation side, you want to take advantage of that. You want to have special assistants who are players because they know what they're looking at with players. They may not be able to run your business, so you don't have them. Derek Jeter is a great example of that, but the examples go on and on. He can't run a business, but I would certainly ask him, hey, who's a good shortstop? And he would say Volpe, of course. All of you who are so angry with the Cowboys, just take a look at the Red Sox. Please, for me, all of you who are so sure that the Packers are now Super Bowl contenders, would you take a look at the San Francisco Giants? Please, for me. Let's not judge this season by its cover. Let's not throw away the Cowboys season just because of this trade. Let's keep focused, folks. Throw the Cowboys season away having nothing to do with the trade. Throw the Cowboys season away because Jerry Jones cannot build a winner. He's shown that over the last 30 years. Don't throw away the Red Sox. They've shown you they win World Series championships. The difference is staggering. Could the Cowboys hit the rarefied air of the Red Sox and actually get this right? I can't wait to find out. But the Red Sox, I think we're done there. I think no matter what happens now, they make the playoffs, even if they're a first-round exit. It is clear to me that what they did with Devers was the right thing, and you can't argue it anymore, period. I'll tell you what I can't argue, and I'm going to argue. And I'm going to argue Lionel Richie, baby. I'm going to argue all night long. Shohei Ohtani is the MVP of the National League. What Kyle Schwarber did last night, very cool. While you were sleeping, Kyle Schwarber of the Phillies, more on this on the pick of the day, or less on this at the pick of the day, but just know the pick of the day, DraftKings pick of the day, was the Phillies. The Phillies were down 3-0 to the retread from the Marlins, Cal Quantrill of the Braves. And then all of a sudden, that was it. They scored 3 off Nola, the Braves did, and then the Phillies scored 5 off Quantrill in the bottom of the first. And that was it, on their way to 19 runs. But hear this. So cool. Kyle Schwarber became the 3rd player this year to hit 4 home runs in a game. You might think, as a new baseball fan, if you're new to this, or if you're one of the many fans of Nothing Personal who's actually not a baseball fan, there's only been 20 players in the history of baseball, 20, to hit 4 home runs in a game. 2 of them were this year. Suarez, now of the Mariners, and Nick Kurtz of the Oakland Aths. Sorry, 4869. Suarez of the Mariners and Kurtz of the Aths. 20. Last night, 21 entered the club. Kyle Schwarber hit 4 home runs. He almost hit for the home run cycle, for crying out loud, Meatloaf. It was truly an unbelievable game. He broke the record for the Phillies. He had 9 runs batted in. But now there have been 3 players this year. There were 18 going into the year. There have been 3 this year. It's incredible. Baseball's over 100 years old. It doesn't happen. And now it's like a Tuesday. But I don't want to take any spotlight away from Kyle Schwarber. He is having a monster season. And let me tell you, there is an owner out there who is looking at Kyle Schwarber and saying, I will pay you. I will pay you as though this is not your best year. I will pay you as though this will be your years going forward. Kyle Schwarber's never had a year like this. 49 home runs, leading the National League, sprinted past Ohtani, 1 behind Cal Raleigh for the Major League lead, leading the league in runs batted in at $119. Paying someone at the top is a mistake. But Kyle Schwarber is going to ask, and my God, is he going to receive? Do you think Kyle Schwarber should get paid more than Kyle Tucker? In a battle of the Kyles, who do you got? Who do you want on your team? Tucker, Schwarber? 10 GMs were surveyed on this question. 9 out of 10 responded, and 8 out of 9 said, I would rather have Kyle. Can you blame him? Who wouldn't? There's a chance here that Schwarber will catch Ryan Howard for the most home runs ever hit by a Philadelphia Philly. Ryan Howard hit 58 in 2006. Schwarber's got to lean into 9 more in the last month of the season, which would only be a 54 home run pace. He's already at 49, which means he's over a 54 home run pace, which means he's likely to get more than 9 home runs in a month, which means he's going to set the record for home runs by a Philly. This is a team that plays at a bandbox. Citizens Bank Park, man, one day you can get 19 runs and it just happens. Fly ball to right field. Wow, I didn't get it. Holy crikeys, it's a home run. The number of times we said that as a team playing in Philadelphia, I can't even tell you. So if you weren't paying attention, the Phillies had a big night. Today is Friday. We're heading into Labor Day weekend. There is no show Monday, September 1st. I will be back Tuesday, September 2nd. I've got an activity to do this weekend. I am heading on a jet plane because I'm leaving on a jet plane. I know when I'll be back again. Tuesday, 7 a.m. sharp. I'm going to go watch Ichiro play a baseball game. That may sound crazy, doesn't it? I can watch movies on the plane. It's only 28 hours of plane time for 28 hours on the ground. It's a perfect plan. Don't miss a show. Get to watch Ichiro pitch in a game with Japanese all-stars, Kaz Mitsui, Hideki Mitsui, Daisuke, against an all-star team of girls, the best in Japan, and Ichiro's going to pitch, and I'm going to go watch him. Why wouldn't I? When I come back, it's Tuesday. Well, I'll be back Monday, but we have a show Tuesday, which means the next day is a So You Want to Talk to Samson Wednesday, which we just had 2 days ago. That's what happens when you do something once a week. It comes at you quick. So pick up the phone right now. Well, hit pause first, or if you're live, wait till the end of the show. 631-377-4869. That number again, 631-377, that's DPS if you have a rotary phone, 4869. Please leave me voicemails. You may make the show. Ask a question. You can type in a question at David P. Samson on Twitter or Instagram or at davidsamsonpodcast.com. But this is a chance for your voice to be on the show because every Wednesday we do it in our second hour. We answer your questions. You've got this. Coca, it's time for the review. I'm reviewing a series. I told you I'd watch the end of it, and I did. I had plenty of time last night as I tried to adjust to Japanese time as quickly as possible, which is a fool's game when you're going there for a day. But I digress. So I watched the end of Hostage. That is a miniseries on Netflix starring Julie Delpy. You may know her from Before Sunrise, Before Sunset. Remember Ethan Hawke? An outstanding trilogy. One of the best trilogies I've seen in my life, actually, as a trilogy. Saran Jones. What would you do? I think about this way more than I should. And that's really for another hour of my week, not this hour. But I think about the possibility of being held hostage or being kidnapped all the time. This is a story. It's called Hostage. This is a story of the Prime Minister of England, like 10 Downing Street, like Notting Hill, like Hugh Grant. Her husband gets taken hostage. The question is, what do you do? Do you resign? Do you not resign if that's what you're asked? Do you pay the ransom or not pay the ransom if that's what you're asked? Do you do a 24-hour hula hoop marathon or not, if that's what you're asked? Do you make sure your bus doesn't go below 55 miles an hour or not? It got old. I loved watching Julie Delpy. I felt old watching it. The story itself, great concept. The execution was poor. Do yourself a favor. You don't need to watch the 5 episodes, the 8 episodes, whatever number it is. I watched every one because I did. You can skip Hostage and you can move right along to the next. And there will be a next. As a matter of fact, I am excited because upon boarding the jet plane, the first 3 hours of the plane ride, I'm watching F1. I'll review that for you on Tuesday. I love having fun. I'm a fun guy. I do have more than my share of fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. I try to take myself as seriously as I need to in order to do the business I want to do, to have the success I want to have. One of the things you have to be able to do is understand the difference between business and pleasure. It's our entire show. It's just business. No, we're not done. But it's the entire show. There's a baseball team out there that is getting a lot of attention. Big article written in The Athletic, and I don't know how many times I can tell you about The Athletic. I'm at a loss. I think that it should be clear to you that you ought to be subscribing to The Athletic, and believe me, they are not a sponsor of mine. Evan Drellick wrote a story about the Savannah Bananas yesterday, and it gave me an opportunity not just to read the article, digest the article, think about the article, but it gave me an opportunity to talk about the Savannah Bananas with you. The Savannah Bananas, that group, that circus, those players in yellow, the owner in the top hat and the tuxedo, the yellow tuxedo, all the fun if you're catch a foul ball, the players out, the golden at bat rule, all the crazy flips and bat flips and front flips and side flips, and it's a fun game. It's an exhibition game. It's the circus. It's the Harlem Globetrotters. Who doesn't love that? Can you imagine if David Stern, as commissioner of the NBA, had ever been asked a question? Hi, David, we're just curious. Do you view the Harlem Globetrotters as your competition? David Stern would have laughed you out of the room, literally, with his right foot. For some reason, there's a narrative out there that the Savannah Bananas may be an issue for Major League Baseball. They may be in competition with Major League Baseball. Obviously, Coca, I'm missing something. Because the Savannah Bananas in no way are competition. But the problem is the owner of the Savannah Bananas has a small problem. One, the owner of the Savannah Bananas is a guy named Jesse Cole. Jesse Cole came out and said, this is all about the fans. We're not here to make $1 billion. We're here for fun. We're here for fans. His slogan is practically, it's definitely not business. It's just pleasure. He actually said, this isn't the Globetrotters. We're building a sport. I have little leaguers reaching out every day that say they want to do a banana ball league. Little leagues are saying, oh, we have an idea. Here's our way to success. Let's be a banana ball league. And you know what? I dig it. But if I'm a parent of a kid who knows how to play baseball, I want my kid to be a professional baseball player. And I want that delusion to last as long as possible. I'm not putting my kid in the circus, but there's other kids who are tumblers. They want to be the trapeze artist. They want to be the 17th clown in the Prius. I get it. Go to clown school. I would be thrilled if there were a little league where kids could do banana ball. Like I'm thrilled when there's theater. I'm thrilled when there's track. I'm thrilled when there's basketball. I'm thrilled when there's all sorts of things that kids can do where they can find their calling. They can find their talent. I don't understand the narrative that you want to tell me the Savannah Bananas are not the Harlem Globetrotters. Is it because they don't win every game? What the Harlem Globetrotters are I was going to say they're exhibitionists, but then I was thinking people will say, wow, that sounds like OnlyFans. And I'll say, wait, I thought that was voyeurism. But anyway, I digress. The quality of baseball for the Savannah Bananas is not Major League Baseball quality. A AAA team would go out and crush them. A AA team would go out and crush them. It's not about that. And that doesn't make it a bad business. As a matter of fact, they sell out every stadium they go to. They are a touring circus, and Jesse Cole is P.T. Barnum. And I tip my cap to P.T. Barnum because he's the one who reminded me that there's a sucker born every minute. If you're willing to pay money to be entertained and that's what entertains you, then we've got ourselves a deal. And he wants to tell me that this is not about business, but then he wants to tell you that his league is like the UFC and that he views what he's doing as what the UFC did as a counter-programming initiative to boxing. And now the UFC is this billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar business that can sell its rights for $1 billion. I just find it to be interesting. It's like Jerry Jones saying to you, hey, we can't allocate cap to Micah Parsons, $47 million. Forget it. You're changing your tune. You can't tell me the Savannah Bananas are only for the fans and then tell me that you want to be the UFC, because I got a surprise for you. The people running the UFC, you know who you are, DW, don't care about the fans. They care about the business. Hard stop. And I'm fine with that if that's the direction you want to go. It makes perfect sense to me. So this article that Evan Drellick did talks about whether or not MLB views them as a competitor or whether they don't. What would you think that Noah Gardner or Rob Manfred would say when asked, hey, do you think the Savannah Bananas and the fact that they can sell out Yankee Stadium on Saturday, September 13th, whether they can sell out Marlins Park on any day multiple times when the Marlins can't? What is it you think the commissioner is going to say? Oh, yeah, man, they're our competitors and they're kicking our butt. MLB is making all sorts of investments in baseball. They bought into that women's softball league that is run by the erstwhile GM of the Marlins, Kim Ng. They invest in all sorts of things. They invested in minor league baseball. They invest in little league baseball. They invest in companies that make baseballs, that make gloves, make bats, make hats. Would it make sense for them to invest in the Savannah Bananas? When you're asked a question like that, go back to the original thesis that was in your head. Whenever you're asked something, if you can keep your frame of reference steady, then you'll have amazing perspective on the outcome of the issue that you're asked about. Go back to the Globetrotters. Go back to David Stern, the great commissioner of the NBA. When he was asked, and believe me, he was asked whether it was made public or not, whether he wanted or Adam Silver or the NBA wanted to invest in the Harlem Globetrotters, what do you think the answer was? No, thank you. That doesn't serve our investment initiatives. It doesn't match our investment criteria. Being a fan of the Harlem Globetrotters was not directly correlated to going to an NBA game or being a fan of the NBA. It was directly correlated to whether you were buying tickets to Ringling Brothers, Barnum Bailey. It's the same with the Savannah Bananas. Listen, I can't even get a correlation with the World Baseball Classic. We fill up Marlins Park when it's Venezuela against the Dominican Republic. We have our sales team out there. We have booths. We have people talking to the fans. We have the list of the ticket buyers, and we contact them all to buy season tickets for the Marlins. And the flow-through rate, the success rate, was de minimis, practically nothing. That's going to a World Baseball Classic game that has the professional players who they could see with the Marlins or the road teams. You go to season ticket holders, just go to ticket holders of a Savannah Bananas game, and you say to them, hello, we'd like you, Matthew Coca, to become a season ticket holder of the New York Yankees because we see you here at the Bananas game. What do you think? Possible? Nope. Probable? Forget it. Unlikely at best. Now, do not take this as MLB or even me as being anti-Savannah Banana or not appreciating the entertainment value of it, because I love it. I love anytime people do anything that's fun. Would I book the Savannah Bananas at Marlins Park if I'd still been there? Of course. It's money. But I certainly would not have counted a multiplier of ticket revenue with repeat business. You can have both things be true at once. The Savannah Bananas can be good for baseball. They can be good for Major League Baseball. They can be good for minor league baseball. They can be good for fans of baseball. But that's a subset of what the Savannah Bananas are. What they are is good at entertaining you and getting people who don't like baseball or aren't going to like baseball after, but they like the entertainment of the game that the Bananas play. How can you go wrong when you are being told through sellout crowds that you are entertaining them? You cannot. Which is why they're expanding, which is why they're going to keep going, which is why Jesse Cole can say, oh, I'm not about business. Really? Are you sure? I'm almost positive you are. Nothing personal pick of the day. Nothing personal pick of the day yesterday was Nola and the Phillies, aforementioned game against the Braves. Oh, yeah. We are 114 and 110. Not great. Not terrible. Out of the hole. Don't ever want to see 500 again. Nola pitched fine, but the Phillies just clubbed the Braves. That was it. I got 3 picks for you. Number 1, tonight, the Brewers are underdogs. Oh, yeah. Now, the Brewers have lost some games. They lost to the Giants. Fine, whatever. Brewers plus 112 over the Toronto Blue Jays. You know I love the Blue Jays. You know I love Justin Bieber. But remember, coming off Tommy John, there will be inconsistencies. Shane Bieber pitched perfectly his first game. This is his second start. Inconsistency ought to be expected. And playing the best team in baseball as an underdog, yes. Friday, Brewers plus 112 over the Blue Jays. Saturday, we're finally week 1. College football started last night, though. There were like 17 games. It was insane. Biggest game is the Portnoys against the Joneses. And you want to keep up with the Joneses, you got to have a Portnoy. Ohio State is playing Texas, number 3 against number 1. Big game. Ohio State is minus 110 over Texas. My guess is that they're both minus 110. It's just a regular, straight-up, even game. Guess what? We're taking Ohio State even to win the game against Texas. It will be Arch Manning's game, and everyone's saying it's going to be super telling. Will he or won't he win the Heisman? Will he or won't he leave Texas? We'll find out after game 1. Give me a break. It's game 1, week 1. Stop it. But we are taking Ohio State. We then have a pick on Sunday for you. The Sacramento Ass have been playing much better. Mark Kotze is not going to win Manager of the Year, which was my preseason pick, but they are playing better. They are so excited to be playing in Vegas in 3 years and to be playing 6 games there next year that they decided why not play better. Jacob deGrom is going for the Texas Rangers versus the A's on Sunday. The A's will be significant underdogs, and we're taking them. So again, take the Brewers over the Blue Jays, Ohio State over the Longhorns on Saturday, and the Aths over the Rangers on Sunday. Guess what? It's Friday. That means hour 2 is all about Coca, and we'll do it after the break. Welcome back to hour 2 of Nothing Personal on this Friday, August 29th, 2025. It's Labor Day weekend. Reminder, no show Monday. We will be back Tuesday, September 2nd, live at 7 a.m. But you know what Fridays mean. When it's second hour Friday, it is my pleasure, but your honor, to welcome in our esteemed producer, Matthew Coca, to bring us home into the weekend. Are you there? We rehearsed this, Coca. You're supposed to come on screen immediately upon me saying, hey, welcome Matthew Coca. There he is.
I thought that you'd have like a better introduction there, so I was waiting. I didn't want to be too early.
We're a penny store. Our budget does not allow you for any intro. We have no, you know what? We should ask Metalark if we can have like special Matthew Coca graphics or special like intro to your show each week, because you join me every Friday. Our Friday second hour is one of our best hours of the week, which is really cool. What are you doing this weekend? Big weekend ahead?
Yeah, West Virginia's back. The boys are back. That's why I got the hat on today. Not because it's early in the morning and it's only 6:54 a.m. Eastern time. Not because of that. And I didn't want to do my hair. It's because the boys are back. West Virginia's playing. We've got Robert Morris to start the season. We're 38 and a half point favorites.
You watch that game?
Got a rep. Yeah. West
So
Virginia football's up there.
But a 38.5 point favorite is so do you take satisfaction in winning by 39, or if you win by 5, are you despondent that you only won by 5?
With West Virginia, if they win, that's where I'm at right now. If they can win, then I'm satisfied. Then I'm happy. I don't really care, because the way that I look at it is like with where college football is now, like I just want West Virginia to win games. I know that they're not going to be a college football playoff contender or a national championship contender right now. It's our first season with Rich Rod back there as head coach. So like I'd be happy with not finishing in last place in the Big 12. Like that'd be a successful season for me. Give me 7 wins, give me 8 wins, give me close games. That's all I'm looking for.
Why can't baseball fans ever be like that? Where if you're supposed to win, if your over-under total is 81 and you win 85, why is that not a successful season?
I think it's more because of listen, I feel like it's the way that you look at it, right? What the team expectations are year in and year out. It's a little different now in the NIL world, where the money is coming from, where some schools just have these huge boosters who can come in. So if West Virginia can get Ken Kendrick, the owner of the Arizona Diamondbacks, to come in with, some big money. And, right now he gives a lot of money to the baseball team. If he were to give it to the football team and make us like true contenders, then you're like, okay. But in baseball, it's supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be a level playing field with them all being professional teams. In college, we're obviously not there.
So you're looking for your gold digger sugar daddy. I had to work gold digger, and that was my favorite story of the week. Was that your favorite story of the week?
No, I'm really interested in the Micah Parsons trade and everything you had to say about it. I look at it in 2 different ways, right? You look at it is the shock value of it, where it's a 26-year-old edge rusher who is a tier 1 player. Like he could be with age consideration. Myles Garrett is probably the best edge rusher in football and the best defensive player in football. But right behind him is Micah Parsons. And Micah Parsons getting traded from the Cowboys, where it seemed that he really loved that team. Like he loved being a Cowboy. He loved repping the star. And then he gets traded to the Packers. I don't think you understand how good of a trade that is for the Packers side because of where they are. Like they have Super Bowl aspirations. They become a contender with someone like Micah Parsons on the defensive side.
Why didn't their win total move?
But that's the thing, is that, maybe it's juiced up more to -170. But it's everything is played on the field. Things are played on the field. So
is this a bigger surprise to you than the Luka deal? Because how could that be when Micah Parsons was in the middle of a holdout? He was in the middle of a major issue. There was such vitriol between them. The Luka deal came out of nowhere.
The Luka deal is different because in the NBA, one player can significantly change the dynamic of a team. Like that's how it works in basketball with trades like that. In football, you sort of look a little on the margins, right? So Parsons being there elevates their defense to more of like an elite status because you bring in that edge rusher. You bring in that guy who can get to the quarterback. But that team is more about how Jordan Love is going to play, right? Because the quarterback is such an important position in football.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like Jordan Love needs to play to the expectations that people have for him. He needs to step up in a way where people truly believe like, hey, Jordan Love can be a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Well, he got paid. I mean, he is looked at already that way. He had a great season last year.
But it's the difference. That's the thing that it's hard for you to understand right now because you talk about it with the Trevor Lawrences and the Tuas. Quarterbacks get paid. That's just the way of the world. So you can't even say like, hey, he's been paid because he deserves it. In a lot of cases, quarterbacks get paid because they are quarterbacks. So if you're a team like Green Bay, like you had to pay him or he walks, and then you don't get that potential, right? You don't see what he can be because sometimes quarterbacks have to play so early into their careers. Well, Jordan Love didn't have to do that, right? He got to sit behind Aaron Rodgers, and they were sort of forced into making that payment because Aaron Rodgers didn't move on and he didn't go to a new team. They still had an aging player there. But then, Jordan Love had to become the starter, so you had to pay him starter money, even though you didn't really know. Well, we didn't know, right? Because you say executives know what they have. So the Packers obviously knew what they had in practice, and they said, hey, this guy is good enough, and he deserves this deal. But going back to the trade, Jerry Jones, I just don't like, and I had told you this yesterday, I don't like when he is a straight shooter, right? Because he kept saying all these things, and he kept bringing up, hey, Micah Parsons, I love him to death. There's no vitriol there. He's such a great guy. He's such a good kid. I just want everybody to know.
I spent an hour and a half with his mom.
He's a good guy. Yeah, he's a good guy. We watched a Super Bowl together. Like,
Right.
Can you tell us any more how you didn't like him, right? How you didn't really like how this ended up happening? Because that's what I got from it. Jerry just wanted whatever the deal was, whatever the handshake agreement was that he had with Micah Parsons, he wanted him to accept that deal. And because he didn't, and because it dragged on, and because it truly became like this public spectacle, that Jerry was like, I've had enough of this.
But when does he ever do that? Normally, if he loves the attention and then he signs the player. So this one seemed to me to have a different roadmap than what Jerry's done in the past. But his comments at the press conference to me were so all over the place and just so crazy, although he's an octogenarian, so maybe that is just par for the course. But I didn't understand what all of now you just said that your analysis is the Packers go from, so you had them as good and now they're great, or you had them as great and now they're greater? Is that
I'm more along the lines of like on the edge of great, and now they truly are great.
And the Cowboys were what? Before with Micah Parsons, what were the Cowboys to you?
Just
bad.
I think they were just an average team. They were.
What
are
they now?
That could sort of surprise you. But that's another thing. I think it's less than. What are they going to do defensively? Because the biggest question with them is always going to be Dak, right? Jerry decided to pay Dak Prescott, and he decided to pay Dak Prescott again after injury. So Dak's already been hurt multiple times as the starting quarterback for the Cowboys. Was that the right decision? Could this team, because he kept talking about how much money that they're going to have and they can get great players and they can do this and they can do that. Well, they could have done that with Dak Prescott, but it's just
3 to 5 players.
Yeah, and he really believed that Dak Prescott was the guy who was going to take them, and he still believes that Dak Prescott's the guy who can take them to the promised land. But most people don't believe that, right? They've seen enough of Dak. They've seen the injuries. They've seen what's happened there, and it's always been Dak Prescott. So he could have chosen not to pay Dak Prescott, and they could have done what you love to do and play, on a rookie contract, and they might have been in a different situation than they're in right now.
But why are you not saying that about the Packers? You said the opposite thing about the Packers, where they had Jordan Love. And can't we say that Jerry Jones evaluated Dak Prescott the way that the Packers evaluated Jordan Love?
Well,
Except Dak
I think
Prescott had done
Prescott's in
even
his,
more.
but I think he's in his 30s. Like I think Dak is in his 30s. Jordan Love is in his mid 20s. So you still have those additional years. But after that first contract with Dak, you saw what you were. They were never. We've talked about it. The Cowboys haven't been back to an NFC Championship or a Super Bowl in 30 years now. So something needed to change. And
So that's the argument.
yeah, but change isn't going to happen because when you watch that press conference yesterday and you see Stephen Jones just sitting there, he's just sitting there and he says one word. He interjects real quickly to remind his dad that he's talking about Micah Parsons and not Michael Parsons, and that's it. And the guy's 61 years old, and it seems like Jerry treats him like he's still a 12-year-old.
Did you like my Prince Charles thing from the first hour today?
I didn't really understand it.
Seriously didn't. Hold on. What do you mean you didn't understand it?
Yeah, it was just
Prince Charles is waiting to become king his whole life. And the mother, the queen, wouldn't die. She lived to be 160.
Yeah, that was like one of your jokes that needed it was a joke that needed an explainer at the bottom,
right?
Not. Like a history, like a Snapple fact. It needed a Snapple fact on the lower so that I really understood it and that some people understood what you were really talking about.
Check the chat, and if anyone did not understand that, I will laugh. I could do a poll, which I'm not Le Batard or Stugotz, but I could do a poll that says, hey, did you understand the Prince Charles joke? Let me get back to Micah on one other thing. All of the questions about how this happened, Jerry, was a deal, wasn't a deal, talked to the agent, didn't talk to the agent. What is it about this that makes us look at Jerry Jones differently than how we were looking at him before? Jerry Jones has been defined by early career success and then middle and late career failure. So as we've said numerous times on the show, when it's been 30 years since you've done anything, what makes you think that what you're going to do now is going to be different? So the criticism that we should have of Jerry is not to trade Micah Parsons. It's to not properly evaluate who he drafts, to not properly decide who he pays, to not allocate his cap properly, which is a part of that, to not have the right coaches, the right staff, whatever the case may be, to not letting Stephen Jones talk enough. What is it about this Micah Parsons trade that is leading to this epiphany that people are having about what Jerry Jones actually is when he's shown who he is for decades before?
I think it's just like don't you always want to be the guy? Right? Don't you always just want to be the guy? But I just feel like everybody in life, if you have the opportunity, you don't want to live in your father's shadow forever. Especially when it's the number one brand in all of sports, right? The valuations came out. They're a $13 billion team. Don't you feel like at some point you just want to be like, listen, Dad, I want a ring. I want to experience what it's like to be the guy who gets Dallas a ring. You've done it before. You've experienced it. Like, I want to be that guy. So, can you give me that opportunity to be that guy to sort of prove to you, like, hey, once you are gone and once you do step back, like, you've seen me do something. You've seen me accomplish something. And right now it just feels like, they should have just taken Stephen Jones's microphone away and just let Jerry talk, because his first answer, they asked Jerry a question. The opening question went for 11 minutes. He went 11 minutes straight. Yeah, what do you think Steven's doing?
Who could talk for 11 minutes straight? That seems impossible to do. I have a little tear in my eye for what you're talking about because it's such horse hockey. Jerry Jones likely has no interest in Stephen Jones succeeding. He likely has no interest in Stephen Jones winning a ring right after Jerry Jones disappears. As a matter of fact, the next time Stephen Jones will have a chance to win a ring is the first time Jerry Jones is 10 toes up. That's just how it's going to be. And I assume from down there, down under, he's not going to be rooting for him. Why? Because you don't get to be Jerry Jones without having the OE. He is the OE, the owner's ego, the father's ego. How many fathers really do root and cheer for their sons. All of them, some of them, none of them. I don't know, man. I have a son. I root so hard for him to succeed, but I know a lot of friends that I have whose fathers root for them to fail. I know it.
I
My
wouldn't know about
dad
that.
used to call me after every show of our show, Coca, when he was alive and tell me how many things I did wrong on the show. When I was running a team, I loved my dad. It was great. It was fine. But man, I didn't hear from him when we won a game. I only heard from him when we lose a game because he'd watch every game. He was like your grandpa with the Mets. Does your grandpa ever call you when he's happy with the Mets?
No.
Just when he's pissed, when something bad happens, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that's the normal standard way that people are. No one wants to admit it, but it just happens to be true. Let's not be that way, Coca.
Earlier this week in the NFL, it was cut week, so every team's roster had to come down to 53 players, and it's really unfortunate for like a lot of guys, around the league.
Why?
Because just getting cut, like that seems like it's like you're trying to realize your dream, and a lot of these guys, that's it for them. So I wanted to get this, you have the firsthand knowledge and you've been in that room when you are releasing a player or when you are cutting a player or waiving a player. What is that conversation like? Because we see the other side, right? All these teams have these social media posts with these great stories where they're telling a player,
when they're
hey,
doing a call-up?
you made the team, right? You've made the 53-man roster, or you're getting called up to the big leagues. Well, what's it like on the other side for having a conversation with a guy that you have to tell, like, hey, you can maybe still realize your dream, but it's not going to be this year and it's not going to be with us?
So there's two types, actually. Are we talking about a prospect, Coca, or are we talking about like a roster filler who is just there for spring training because we needed bodies, and then you call them into the office and you say, all right, we're going to send you back to minor league camp? That's a quick conversation. Is it someone like your number one pick who's been invited to his first spring training and you're sending him down because he didn't make the team? But what you're saying to him is, hey, go down there and do your job. Take the ball every 5 days and you'll be back. We don't know when. You'll tell us when. But there's other players. Hey, we're sending you down. Thanks for everything. Good luck. Enjoy the minor league per diem. So it really is different between what you view as that player's future. And in terms of realizing dreams, Mr. Coca, I thought you were the one who told me that sometimes if you adjust your dream, and sometimes finishing second is an accomplishment, and you should feel proud of finishing second. Maybe there's players at training camp in the NFL who really aren't professional football players, and that they're not NFL players, but they were in training camp. They made it to the last final cutdown. It's pretty darn good. So,
but I think it's different. But I think it's different hearing someone say it, right? Like when you come to that realization yourself, where you're like, damn, I might have to do something else, is different than somebody saying, hey,
terrible.
You're not doing it here, right? You're sorry about it. You're not doing it here. So like with the difference is with like athletes is all that work that you put in physically, right? And mentally, where it's like every day you're training and every day you're pushing your body to its limits to try and get there. So I'm not talking about, telling a star athlete like, hey, you're getting called down to the minor leagues. I'm talking more about like, the journeyman guy or the 30-year-old, the 32-year-old minor league player that you're like, hey, this is it, man. Like we can't do it anymore. Sorry.
Well, we would never say that to a player. So we would never say to a player when we cut them, release them, or designate them, hey, your career's over. Because that's up to the player. That's up to the player and the player's family. You can be a minor leaguer till you're 35 years old. You can have to go get a second job, a first job, whatever the case may be. But we will never say to a player, hey, you're being released and your career's done. That, again, the player will decide, which is when evaluation by your agent and by yourself becomes so important. Because all players, in order to be players, they have an ego. They have this level of self-confidence that says, oh, you're releasing me? Well, I'm going to keep working out. I'm going to throw tomorrow. I'm going to hit in the cage tomorrow. And I'm going to wait for my opportunity that's going to come from one of the other 29 teams. And then I'm going to look in Japan. Then I'm going to look in Korea. Then I'm going to look in the Caribbean. But I'm going to play because I am going to prove people wrong that I can be a big leaguer and attain arbitration, if not free agency, in terms of major league service time. So very often when you release a player, the player is just saying, all right, on to the next. There are times when a player, when you release them, they sit in the room and they're angry. How could you dare release me? How could you evaluate that there's 24 players who are better than I am, or 25 or 26? And the answer we would never answer. I've been asked that, Coca. How come you released me? I've gotten that often, actually. Not, I would say, 3 out of 10 times. 7 out of 10 is thank you very much, take care. 3 out of 10 is what could I have done differently? What do you see that I don't see about my game? And the answer is always the same, which is the way we are putting together the roster today does not include you. It doesn't mean it won't include you tomorrow. Doesn't mean it would not have included you yesterday. It just doesn't include you today. We have the following 4 things that you may want to consider working on. Up to you. We'd like you to work on your command. We'd like you to work on getting a tertiary pitch. We'd like you to work on getting on base more. We'd like it, whatever the case is. We need you to work on hitting the cutoff man by next year. Whatever the case is, we're happy to give our reason. But sometimes the reason is as simple as we have more money invested in another player. The other player is the same as you, but we're going to take the one who we invested more in because we're too embarrassed to send that one out and give a 8th round pick or an undrafted free agent or an unproven player that spot. We'd rather give the spot to one of our guys. So there's always all sorts of reasons when you cut a player.
When you brought up Dontrelle in 2003, Dontrelle Willis, the pitcher for the Marlins that I'm talking about, did you think that he was going to help lead your team to a World Series that year? Did you feel like this is going to be the guy?
Let me tell you, any executive who says that, it's such poppycock, I can't even tell you, Coca. It's just not the case. Dontrelle Willis was a throw-in in the trade with the Cubs, and it was great to have him. He was performing well at the minor league level. We wanted him up. He was healthy. He was lefty. He was young. We had manipulated enough of his service time. It was done. Bring him up. We were starting. It was just crap that was starting, so why not? But no, you never think that. Like, oh, now we're going to win the World Series. I thought always that we have a chance to be in the playoffs from day one of spring training until the day we're eliminated. I just had that mentality, which I think is not entirely uncommon, which is, oh, we're one winning streak away. We are one moment away from having an unforgettable season. And again, it's wrong for 29 teams every year. Only one team gets that right. But don't let a GM ever tell you, oh, when we brought him up, even Paul Skeens. When Paul Skeens is brought up, you can ask Bob Nutting. And Bob Nutting will tell you, the owner of the Pirates, he'll say, oh, this is as close to a sure thing. That's what we say about players. They're as close to a sure thing as I've seen in my career, which is code for we're not exactly positive when he's going to get hurt. We don't know whether or not his stuff will play at the big league level until he faces big league hitters every 5 days. We don't know whether he'll have the maturity to go on road trips and what it will be like for him as a player. We don't know if he'll be able to handle the big league lifestyle, but we're bringing him up and we're going to see what happens. That's the truth of what it is when you bring up players, even your top prospects.
Yeah, because the reason I do bring that conversation up is because the Mets have called up Nolan McLean, and they've called up tonight for the Mets starting is going to be Jonah Tong, who is like, these are the 2 biggest Met pitching prospects that they have. And
ever.
This is a team, not ever. This is a team that's really struggled to find starting. Well, pitching has just been bad all around, but this is a team that's really struggled to find great starting pitching this year. Frankie Montes was supposed to be a guy. He got hurt. Senga's been bad. Minaya has been bad. And now Clay Holmes, it looks like, he's pitched too many innings after they've stretched him out to be a starter. He's hit some sort of wall. But now you bring up these 2 rookies and you still want to be a World Series contender. So that's why I brought up the Dontrelle thing, is because how much pressure do you think is on these guys to be these sort of aces? You know, are these going to be guys that the Mets just look at what they're going to do over this next month and say, hey, you know, this player needs to be on the World Series, or on the playoff roster, the postseason roster. This player, you know, Jonah Tong is going tonight, so we'll see what he sort of looks like. Are you evaluating that over the course of this month and saying, hey, this player needs to be there? Are you making a decision now saying like, hey, we've got 2 rookie guys coming up. You know, we have this stretch where we need to push for a playoff spot because we're not a shoo-in for the postseason right now. Let's move Clay Holmes to the bullpen. Like, are these conversations happening?
Okay, yes. Too many questions there. Let's go one at a time. Number one, when the season started, did you think your rotation was good?
I thought they were all pumpkins, right? I thought they were just pumpkins.
Okay. They've proven to be exactly what everyone thought they would be, which is mediocre with occasional doses of being injured and being crappy. Clay Holmes, remember when he started off hot and everyone was like, oh, the Mets are genius. He's a starter. He wasn't a reliever. I can't believe the Yankees got rid of him. People don't recall that because it feels like it was forever ago. It was 4 months ago. Where am I with the Mets and rookies? You're not making your postseason roster until 5 minutes before they're due, which is the afternoon before game 1 of a series. That's number one. Number two, when you bring a rookie up, and the Mets, they're doing it. I mean, McClain has been, it's like Nakatomi Plaza is his. He has found a way just to have 3 starts that are magical. That run can end at any minute, and the Mets know that. Or he could ride it all the way through the end of the season, and you're looking at, Tim Lincecum. You just never know. Jonah Tong, same thing. It seems to me, Coca, that Mets brass may be higher on Tong than they were even on McClain. And if that's possible, then you've got 2 people who could absolutely start games in your postseason, because I'm trying to think of who they would want to start a postseason game other than rookies that they have who are this good. We were talking about something during our postseason run, Coca, and that was these guys are so young, they don't feel the pressure. They're playing loose, and playing loose is the best way to play because the tightness, it creates a problem. Like when it's this tight and you can't shine a flashlight through it, all of a sudden you're squinting and squirming and not doing the things you know how to do. But when you're loosey-goosey and you're like, hey, I'm just happy to be here, don't even know where I am, that's when greatness can happen. And secondly, or lastly, Coca, what do you mean the Mets are not a shoo-in to make the playoffs? Isn't their percentage like 98% right now?
Yeah, but that's, once again, like, games are played on the field, and it's not like they have
There's 28 games left.
Oh yeah, because as a Mets fan, I've never seen it before.
When did you see it? Tell me who did it to you.
I believe it's the same exact team that we play for the final 3 games of this season. I think this season...
Are the Marlins playing the Mets for the final 3?
Yeah, let me look at it right now, but...
That's so good if that's the case, Coca, because right now the Marlins are in New York. They won last night, and one of the highlights, I would say, Coca, it's got to be a top 10 highlight, making you cry when you were a kid because we eliminated the Mets 2 straight years. That was awesome.
Yeah, they finished the season on a 6-game road trip, 3 at the Cubs and 3 at the Marlins.
So you're worried right now that the Reds are going to catch them?
Well, or it's
like,
the opposite, right?
Like
I'm more worried that the Mets will blow it than that the Reds will catch them, right? But I mean, that's
you're broken. Mets fans seem broken to me.
I mean,
how does that get fixed?
You win a World Series, right?
So that will do it? Getting to the World Series will not do it. They made it to the championship series last year. They were in the NLCS. That didn't do it.
I never thought that they had a chance to get past the Dodgers. Like, I never thought that was going to be the case.
Will you think that this year if they face the Dodgers in the NLCS again?
Once again, I guess it all depends on what the pitching looks like. Like, it's all about pitching. But that's how I felt. That's how I felt when they played the Royals. Like, when they played the Royals, I was like, this is it. Like, we're going to do it.
You're talking about the 2016 World Series or 15? It would be the 15 World Series.
I was like, this is our year. Like, we've got it. We've got it in the bag. Like, this is the the best I've ever felt. And then when they lost that, I was just like, I was just hurt, and I don't want to be hurt again. But
It's what being a fan is.
Yeah,
29 out of 30 fans are hurt every year. By definition, that means you have to be in the top 3%. I'm not offering the top 3% of anything, are you? Like top 3%? That's pretty good. What else is on your mind, Coca? Tell me something else.
Well,
Tell me about your weekend.
Well, you gave your pick. You gave your pick to the Ohio State-Texas game. You've got Ohio State winning that, reigning national champions. They've got a new quarterback, same coach in Ryan Day. He's one of those guys that, everybody wanted him fired, right? Every Ohio State fan wanted him fired because he lost to Michigan and he continues to lose to Michigan. And then he goes on and they win the national championship. But on the other side of the ball, you've got Arch Manning. And you want to talk about pressure and pressure of being the next anything, having the last name Manning, being a quarterback, playing for a team in Texas who is, when it comes to national brands, they are the brand in collegiate sports. And the amount of pressure.
Who is the brand, Coca? Texas?
Texas, yeah.
They are the brand? They're the college football brand more than the A of Alabama?
It's just, they are just the brand of everything, right? Just
Got it. They're the Longhorns,
sports.
right?
Yeah.
Why is there pressure? Isn't he the highest paid NIL guy? Didn't he get $6.5 million already? I believe he's got the most.
It's
NIL
hard for
money.
me, but it's also hard for me to we always talk about NIL, and Deion Sanders just came out and he said this, right? There's 3 or 4 guys where their NIL matters, and the rest are just getting paid. Well, Arch Manning is obviously a guy who has the NIL, who can make money, but I don't know, right? It's not public information. You don't know how much players are getting paid.
What pressure does he have is what I'm asking. Does he have the pressure to beat Ohio State game 1?
No, it's just that you need to be the next great Manning, right? You need to be the person who lifts Texas to a national champion. And then you also have your grandfather coming out saying, hey, my grandchild is staying in school. He's not coming out. He'll be there in 2027. He's not coming out in 2026. And then you have to come out and you have to be like, whoa, slow your roll, Grandpa. If I play great this year, there's always a chance that I can come out and play. But the theme of today's show is a lot about pressure, right? About pressure to be great and pressure to be the next great. So for me, like this could be he played a little bit last year. And he had some great games. He had some games where he looked like he wasn't really, where he had the we'll call them freshman jitters, where you're a non-starter jitters. But now this could be his coming out party to the world, right? He's going up against the reigning national champions at Ohio State. Your first big test, your first true test is on the road in a place where it's really, really hard to play. So this could be the game like we talked about, make or breaking.
Coca, you told me earlier today, I believe in this show, or maybe it was before the show started, when we were talking about quarterbacks, Micah Parsons trade, that it's very hard in football versus basketball. I would think there's be way more pressure for a Cooper Flagg, as an example, as a freshman at Duke than there was for Arch Manning at Texas, because what can Arch do if they can't stop the run or they can't stop the pass or that Ohio State's offense
but we're
is
talking
so
about
good?
Individual awards, right?
You just want him to have a good game.
Well, no. I'm saying. Well, we talked about the Heisman, right? So, like the Heisman, if he comes out and he throws 6 interceptions in this game, his Heisman campaign could be over in game 1, because there's, that's the real competition. That's the real true test when it comes down to voting at the end of the year. People, some people weigh a lot of the more recent results than they do in the past results, but it's still like, hey, you're playing against Ohio State and you had a terrible, terrible game. Somebody else could edge you out there. So that's what I mean when I say like this is a really important game for him, because it could make or break his, your whole season individually.
Let me give you another way to look at it. The talent evaluators in the NFL and where they have him on their draft board, should he decide that he wants to enter the NFL. He will not move on anyone's draft board up or down if he has 6 interceptions on Saturday. It's just not what evaluators do. It's like saying that you go watch Cooper Flagg in high school and he shoots 2 for 12, and I guess he's not the number 1 prospect for Duke. Or it's in baseball when Bryce Harper, if his first minor league game, he's 0 for 6 with 3 Ks. With 2 throwing errors. I just don't view that as a way to change your evaluation. Now, I don't know what the Manning evaluation is, but I can tell you that having a last name, there's people who have last names all over the place. I just did a show this week, Coca, with Cal Ripken's son, Ryan. I don't know when it's coming out. It may have come out already. Who was a baseball player who never made it to the big leagues, but he was in the minor leagues. Was there a lot of pressure, do you think? Do you think that he was trying to live up to the name of his dad, and every time he was hurt and feeling like, oh, crikeys, I got to miss a game. My dad didn't miss a game in over a decade. It just doesn't, in the real mind of these guys, Arch Manning doesn't spend 1 minute saying to himself, I got to be Eli or I got to be Peyton. He is so wrapped up in being Arch Manning and being him, and he thinks, I'll tell you right now, he's better than Eli and Peyton, even if he's not. Ryan Ripken, did he think that he was as good as his dad? I bet you there were times in his career, and we'll speak to him on Nothing Personal one of these days, where he said, Dad, man, all he did was play every day. I'm way better than he is. So I don't think that Arch feels pressure. I don't think that his draft status will be changed by a performance against Ohio State. As a matter of fact, I picked Ohio State today with my pick of the day for Saturday, and I should have also done a wait to see that no matter what happens, Arch Manning is a Heisman finalist, because I think they bring like 3 people to the Downtown Athletic Club, 3 finalists.
You brought up talent evaluators. So this is one of those games where everybody is going to be in attendance, right? Like every NFL evaluator is going to be there just because there's so much talent on each side of the ball. When you were in that position, and I know it's different because, like where are you going to go to Omaha to watch games? Because it's different when it comes to like talent all over the field. Like one team having, you can have, 10 draft picks on the team. Did you pick and choose what games? Did you ever go to games because there were these prospects and you had a high draft pick and you're like, I need to be there to see this player play? Did you do that?
Only if my scouts would ask, but I would watch video. The question is for our GM, would our GM, and GMs try to do some eyewash every year, and the GM's not with the team right now because he's out scouting. He's out at the minor leagues, or he's out in college, or he's out at high schools. The number of actual games that actual GMs or president of baseball operations go to, this is always a popular one. Our GM went to Japan because they wanted to see Yamamoto, or our GM went to Japan 4 times to see Yamamoto. I mean, give me a small break. You do that because you want the relationship. You want to sign him. You want him to choose you in this crazy free agent game that is Japanese players coming to America. But when it comes to the draft, if we draft you, you're our property. Hard stop, that's it. And for a GM to not just rely on video or the word of his scouts, whose job it is to watch the players and project them and to put them on a draft board or to figure out who should be acquired, who should not be acquired, it is rare that a GM would spend time going to games like that. So I did not, but I did get video where my guys would say, hey, we're looking at these guys right now in the first round. Take a look, just so you can say you did.
I saw this thing the other day, and we're just talking about like these big schools and the way that they get players to come in. I think it was Northwestern's AD or their president, and I saw that one of the things that he's doing as part of recruiting is he's showing recruits renderings of what the stadium and what the locker room is going to look at. Renderings. The one thing that just makes no sense, every single big school has great locker rooms and great stadiums, right? Like what recruit is saying, hey, I'm going to Northwestern because the AD showed me a picture and they have an icy machine in the locker room. That's funny,
right?
And that's what I'm doing. But it's just funny that we're using renderings as a way of recruiting players.
You use renderings to sell tickets to a stadium that's not yet built. You use renderings to say, no, this is not the Sydney Opera House. We would use renderings. We had a whole sales office that was just renderings selling season tickets. But what I laugh about is when teams come out and say, do you know how good our academy is in the Dominican Republic? We just built it, and this is a game changer. And then you bring the kid in, and the kid looks around at the dormitory. They look around at the kitchen, and they're like, oh, rice and beans? Oh, an English class? What's my signing bonus? You could have an academy that has sewer water in it. And if you offer the most money to these Dominican kids, they're going to take it because their families need the money.
Well,
And
you don't
so
even
I
have to
do
say
laugh.
it's not even. You don't even. I guess that's the comparison is saying players in the Caribbean, but like that's what it is now in recruiting, right? All the players come out now when they flip. So I think this 5-star wide receiver just flipped from. I can't remember the school that he flipped from. Maybe it was LSU. I don't know, but he's going to Tennessee, 5-star recruit, and he comes out and he says, "Listen, I did it. I had a great relationship with the coaches. No, you didn't. You got
Give me a
paid more,
break.
right? But they're never going to come out and say they got paid more, but that's what it is now, right?
But why?
There's no, but
Why can't you? Do you think LeBron James chose the Heat because of the Heat facilities? Did they give him a tour of the locker room? Of course you give a tour to a free agent to be, and you try to make sure that you vacuumed up all of the hair on the floor. But they don't care. Oh, man, that's a good weight room. That's a fine training room. I want to be on your team, Cowboy. It doesn't work that way. So I would say when you're recruiting players, it is far more important, especially now. It used to be, hey, we can get you this sponsorship, this under the table. You're going to have a car in your family. And believe me, you're going to have nice clothes. Now it's, hey, show me the money. Show me the money. Don't take me on a tour. And it's funny that all these organizations do all these recruiting pitches. Pablo Torre did an entire thing about what the Knicks did to recruit LeBron James. And it was totally ridiculous, obviously, and funny. But I've never had a player. Let me think about it. I can't think of a player who chose our team because of our facilities or chose our team because of its location. People love to be in Miami. They're close to their homes in the Caribbean, closer to family. But we had to offer the same or more money than other teams in order to get the player.
well, speaking of choosing things based on something, some of the quiet news that sort of was overshadowed yesterday because of the Parsons trade is what ESPN decided to do with Doris Burke, right? Where she
Big
was
news.
the lead analyst for the NBA Finals. The report that came out from The Athletic is that she will no longer be on that team. And for me, it's sort of the same thing, right? Like everybody just all they do is they say, "Hey, I'm never watching that game because of so and so is the commentator." But they always end up watching. But they're bringing up a guy in Tim Legler who is, to me, he's like one of those guys that deserves a spot there just because of how he can speak about the game and how he talks about the game and how he breaks down the game. And that's not saying that Doris Burke didn't do that.
Let's be
It's
careful because Doris was really good at X's
Listen,
and O's.
I love Doris Burke, but it's also one of those situations where you see, like, why do they need 3 commentators? Like, when did that become a thing where you need 3 commentators, where they have Richard Jefferson also there, comment? Why do you need 3 people and 2
So
of them
it's
breaking
two
down the
analysts.
game?
It's 2 analysts and 1 play-by-play guy.
Yeah.
And 3-man booths used to, Monday Night Football, famously 3-man booth. Howard Cosell, Frank Gifford, Don Meredith. There's a callback to something before you were born that only 30% of the audience is with me on. But what's interesting about that story, and I'm glad you brought it up, is that there had been rumors for a while. Remember, this all started, the booth at ESPN and ABC. It used to be Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson. That was the threesome. Mike Breen, Jeff Van Gundy, Mark Jackson. When Disney did all those layoffs, Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson lost their jobs. And they had to create an entirely new group. And you know this, you're in the business. What do you need when you have a partner on air? What is the most important thing? Let's see if you and I are in sync here. What's the most important thing?
I don't know what you're alluding to.
Reps. You need reps with your partner. And the booth with the NBA, they kept changing it. Remember when Doc Rivers was in the booth? Then he goes to become a coach. JJ Redick, come on down. Then he goes to become a coach. Richard Jefferson and Doris Burke barely had a chance to work together, and they were criticized immediately. They're talking over each other. They are not adding different things to the broadcast. Mike Breen can't seem to control what Doris is saying when Richard's talking. He's too quiet. She's too loud. They had no reps. And it just, apparently, what Disney said is that we're good here. We're moving down to 2. But here's my issue with it. When you move Greg Olson to the number 2 team in your Fox, you're doing it because he got Tom Brady. Tim Legler, you call him deserving, I'll call him deserving. But he's not Tom Brady. There is zero name recognition. Wait a minute. Tim Legler versus...
But have you ever tuned into a game because you were like, hey, this person is calling the game? You know, this is the person.
Funny, Tom Brady may be the only exception.
But Tony Romo wasn't Tom Brady. Tony Romo wasn't the household Super Bowl winning MVP that Tom Brady is. But when he came onto the scene and he got that job, everybody wanted a Romo. Everybody wanted a Romo.
Remember that he changed? Tony Romo must get, I don't know if he gets a percentage or just thank you notes from every broadcaster who came after him. Remember that his contract with CBS, and caveat, we used to be together at CBS. I'm still there as an MLB analyst. And but that contract was obviously a very big contract that changed the game for what broadcasters make. And Tony Romo was the best. They paid him like the best. Query, is he still the best? There's always a new shiny toy. But for Disney to decide to do this, the part we're not talking about is she's a woman. And she was the first woman to be in a position to be on a number 1 team, the first woman to call an NBA Finals. All of those things happened, and then it ended before it could even get going. So the first thing I thought of is what's happening here off camera. Is there a chemistry issue? Is there an issue with the bosses? Is there an issue somewhere in production? Is there a concern? Because to me, if you're promoting Tim Legler, there's got to be a different reason. If they had gotten a big-time name, and Tony Romo, you say he's not a big-time name. He was. He really was. He wasn't Tom Brady.
Yeah, but neither is Richard Jefferson, right? Like Richard Jefferson.
But he was 3. He's in the 3 hole. You can have someone in the 3 hole who is not, just look at the number 2 and 3 teams in all of the sports. They're not necessarily big names. They're former players, and they do a great job, and they work their way into a career. But when you're putting someone with Richard Jefferson, they took the woman away. And it's not that I'm being and accusing Disney of being something with, women, not in the least. I wish I would have heard more about the business reason that they did this, because Legler there instead of Burke, what is the incremental benefit?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it could be a chemistry thing, right? But you're not going to come out and say that, right? You're not going to come out and say, hey.
Why?
Because you're in the business, dude. You're in the business.
Yeah, and we're trying to bring honesty to it. Hey,
it's just
these
some
3
things are
kept
secrets.
talking over each other, just like right now. No chemistry. But
listen,
right.
Nobody's ever going to be happy. Nobody's ever going to be happy.
Including
everybody
you.
hates. No, I'm just saying every fan hates every commentator, right? So it's just I understand.
I thought everyone loves Greg Olson. Who hates Greg Olson?
Listen, there's
He's
got to be but everybody's biased, right? Every time your team plays and your team loses when so-and-so is playing, when so-and-so is commentating, you say, hey, this person hates my team. You can tell just the way that they talk about my team.
I love that.
They don't like my team. But nobody was ever going to be happy. So it's just like, I sort of do wish that ESPN was stronger here, right?
That's what we were looking for, and we didn't come. And I think there's going to be more on this story, and it really got fauceted. That's the 2nd day in a row. Something else happened this week when someone got fauceted. I can't remember who.
MLB schedule release
got fauceted this week. And I felt like this story, it was perfect. When you've got an announcement you have to make that may not be perfect, if you can bury it, it used to be called the Friday news dump. If you can bury it, that is the greatest type of business you can ever do. And Disney
here's
got it buried.
News dump. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Oh, God. That was your sign-off? Reminder, no show Monday. We will be back Tuesday, September 2nd, with great stories from my weekend in Nagoya, Japan, where I'm heading to right now because it's just business. Have a safe weekend, everybody. This is nothing personal.